It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
You'd be hard-pressed to find too many Westerns at your local movie theater these days. They're not in fashion with Hollywood moguls or film audiences. But when you've got cowboys and Indians on the gridiron, well, that's a palomino of a different color. Yep, it's the biannual showdown between Washington and Dallas. And as usual, it's for first place in the NFC East. In their initial meeting earlier this year, the Redskins rolled 34-14 on the strength of their potent offense. And the key to their attack is running back John Riggins, who until recently was making his address at the hospital with a back ailment. But Riggo is fit for the big one, and he'll be needed. The Cowboys have been coming on lately, and the catalyst has been the Dallas Doomsday defense. Head coach Tom Landry will have to hope for continued pressure from his front four if the Pokes expect to win. In the last two games, Dallas logged 17 quarterback sacks, not a few of them coming from all-pro defensive tackle Randy White. It goes without saying that neither team is particularly fond of the other and never misses the chance to remind the opposition of past embarrassments. For now, the Redskins care little about the ancient history of their Super Bowl XVIII debacle, but more for repeating the events of the recent past. Can they sweep the Cowboys for the first time ever in the regular season and take over sole possession of first place? The answers are forthcoming in a battle that will make the Little Bighorn resemble a peace pipe ceremony. Sparks are ready to fly as Dallas battles Washington on the NFL Game of the Week. In his previous outing against the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas quarterback Danny White had one of the worst days of his pro career, so he was anxious to atone for that performance against Washington. On the Cowboys' very first possession, Danny was just dandy, as Dallas moved quickly and easily, thanks to White's virtuoso performance. White did everything but choreograph the dance routines for the Cowboy cheerleaders. He ran, passed, and avoided trouble while smartly executing a 10-play, 80-yard scoring drive. Straight completions to fullback Timmy Newsom got the ball in close, where White then spotted wide receiver Doug Donnelly in the corner. Just like that, the Cowboys took an early lead. White began this season as the NFL's top-rated passer of all time, but 1984 has been an Orwellian experience for him. This throw to Donnelly was only Danny's 7th touchdown pass of the year, but it was timely and important as a morale booster for an athlete who hasn't had a lot of pleasant experiences recently. With the score, Dallas led 7-0. Washington did not answer back in quite the same manner, however. Oh, they found they could move the ball on the Cowboys, no problem there. But the Redskins weren't going to get maximum results out of their efforts. At least not right away. Quarterback Joe Theismann leads the 4th most prolific attack in football. But in the first half, points would be scarce, despite impressive gains between the two 20-yard lines. Dallas tested the sore spine of running back John Riggins early. And number 44 proved to be a walking advertisement for orthopedic therapy. Riggo looked to be in fine form, much to the dismay of the Cowboy defenders. But on a key third down call, the Redskins fell victim to the hot Dallas pass rush, and the drive stalled. In came kicker Mark Mosley, who earned Washington its first points of the day, trimming the Cowboys' lead to 7-3. In Dallas's next two possessions, they would score, but the similarities between the two drives ended right there. After the first Washington field goal, White started off small, then began to think big. This would be a drive of remarkably sharp execution and quick striking calls. And the Redskins were simply unable to cope with anything the Cowboys threw at them. After some short but sweet stuff, Danny went big, utilizing the remarkable skills of running back Tony Dorsett, number 33, along with some timely downfield blocking. Dorsett's 39-yard play was quickly followed by a Timmy Newsome jaunt for 30 yards, putting the Cowboys right on the doorstep. The Redskins were bewitched, bothered, and bewildered by what was happening. And then the Cowboys really crossed them up with a touchdown play executed just like Tom Landry drew it up on the blackboard. Tight end Doug Cosby was all alone for the score, his fourth of the year, making him the team leader in both touchdowns and receptions. It worked thanks to White's play fake, which sent the Redskins scurrying left. Cosby, however, sneaked right and found the ball delivered to him in room service fashion. Dallas now held a 14-3 second quarter lead and had done it on one of their best-looking drives of the year. But Washington responded with some speedy ball movement of their own, as Theismann quickly got the Redskins into Cowboy country. However, the pattern then repeated itself as Washington could not punch it home. When Randy White hogtied running back Joe Washington, the Redskins' quiver of arrows was found empty. So Mark Mosley came on again, and his kick made it a 14-6 affair. For the rest of the half, Washington could not even get this close as Doomsday honed its sights on Theismann and company. Fierce pressure and some costly fumbles sent the Redskins steadily in reverse. Late in the quarter, the Redskins were disorganized, dismayed, and almost ready to be discharged. Dallas had all the momentum and gave Washington even more to think about in their halftime locker room powwow when they scored again. But that didn't happen right away. First, the Redskin defense took out some of its frustration on Danny White. After Washington added to its league-leading sack total, White picked himself up off the carpet and connected twice with number 82, wide receiver Mike Renfro. The first was a nice little gain. The second, a play of considerably greater impact. The 60-yard hookup made it 21-6 Dallas at the half. The home team was riding high, but the Redskins were not ready to have this Western simply fade out with a peaceful march to the reservation. In the second half, the Cowboys would have to circle the wagons, but even that would not stop the angry tribe from Washington.
We'll return. You're watching.
Following a dominant Dallas first-half performance that evoked memories of clutch victories gone by, no one could have predicted the destruction that the Cowboys rained upon themselves in the third quarter. They survived Tony Dorsett's fumble when the ball bounced out of bounds, maintaining possession. But 2 plays later, the Cowboys were not so fortunate. Danny White's first pass of the second half proved a costly one for Dallas. Not only was it intercepted, but it was taken in for a touchdown. Number 28, Darrell Green, got the Redskins back into the game with one swift stroke. And suddenly, Dallas's seemingly overwhelming advantage had been markedly reduced. Green's interception cut the Cowboys' lead to 21-13 just 2 minutes into period 3, and showed the quickness and anticipation of the second-year cornerback, whose blazing speed and sense of timing has more than made up for his supposed lack of height. Green's theft was only the beginning of Dallas's third-quarter debacle. On the kickoff following the score, the Cowboys' return team produced the second turnover when Chuck McSwain coughed up the football when hit by Redskins special teamer extraordinaire Otis Wansley. Dramatically, the entire look of this game shifted in less than a minute. The Cowboys, after playing near-perfect football in the first half, were orchestrating their own downfall. When Joe Theismann found Calvin Muhammad in the end zone for a 22-yard touchdown, Dallas's lead was sliced to only a point. A game that was surprisingly one-sided in the first half was now surprisingly tight in the second. Over 11 minutes remained in the third quarter, and the Cowboys were clinging to a 1-point lead. Danny White's brilliant first half was nothing but a memory, and as the third quarter progressed, the Redskins continued to make it tough for him. Washington blitzed linebackers, forcing number 11 to hurry his throws. And then the Redskins did it again. They caused another turnover. Darrell Green's second interception in 4 minutes gave Washington the opportunity to take the lead for the first time in the game. The turnaround was beyond understanding. The Cowboys, virtually unbeatable in Texas Stadium, were simply giving the game to the opponent, and the Washington Redskins no less. Dallas's defense had to respond, and they did, putting on a sacking exhibition that quelled the comeback fires that had sparked the Redskins. Strong play by the defensive line and kamikaze blitzes by the likes of Bill Bates, number 40, slowed Washington down and restored a semblance of order to a contest the Cowboys had so suddenly lost control of. But the offense still had to settle down. Danny White and the Cowboys offense had moved the ball very well in the first half. White's poise and pinpoint accuracy accounted for 3 scoring passes. But the second half was a different story. Interceptions on consecutive possessions forced Tom Landry to turn to the running game for some stability. But that proved just as costly. Timmy Newsom's fumble was the Cowboys' 4th turnover of the third period. The only consolation, and it was a small one at that, was that the Redskins were only able to kick a field goal, and they led for the first time late in the third quarter. Danny White needed to stare adversity in the face and battle back, but all he stared in the face were blitzing Redskin linebackers. But on the first play of the fourth quarter, White read the blitz and delivered the ball beautifully to Tony Hill, number 8. result was a 43-yard touchdown that sent the Cowboys back into the lead. Perhaps a demon had invaded the Cowboys' collective body in the third quarter. If so, it was exorcised on this, the initial play of the final period, when White and Hill teamed up on the score. A rainbow from the Dallas quarterback that landed easily in the arms of the Cowboys' top wide receiver. The Cowboys had the ball back shortly after the score and looked to extend their 28-23 lead. But the Redskins' defense shut Dallas down. First, they stymied Dorsett, the Cowboys' main ball control weapon. And then in what may well have been the key defensive play of the game for Washington, defensive end Dexter Manley, number 72, sacked White back at the Cowboys' 5-yard line. The sack forced the Cowboys to punt from their own end zone, ensuring Washington excellent field position. The Redskins then went to work, using their two most destructive offensive weapons, running back John Riggins and wide receiver Art Monk. After Riggins bulled his way through the Dallas defense for 13 yards, he handed off to Monk on the reverse, and number 81 used his running skills to pick up 18 more yards. The NFL's leading receiver with over 90 receptions, Monk then went back to what he does best, and this 14-yard catch brought the ball to the Cowboys' 1-yard line. It took 3 tries, but Riggins finally traveled the yard, and the Redskins had methodically regained the lead 30-28. Nearly 7 minutes remained in the fourth quarter, plenty of time for the Cowboys to come back. What began as a Cowboy romp had become a hard-fought struggle for playoff survival in the incredibly competitive NFC East. The Cowboys had blown a 21-6 halftime lead. This was not a game they could afford to lose, and Danny White knew it. His own mistakes had helped the Redskins come back, but he had shown his character with a touchdown pass to Hill, his 4th of the game. Now the Washington defense waited, as White needed to show his character yet again. Time was not a factor yet, so the Cowboys used the run effectively, popping Dorsett up the middle for a good game. But Dallas was not going to get in the end zone using the run as its predominant weapon, and the Redskins were ready when White dropped back to throw. It's a good thing that White was ruled in the grasp of a Washington defensive lineman, making it a quarterback sack, where the pass that followed was picked off by the Redskins' Anthony Washington. Instead of giving Washington the ball in their own territory, where the Redskins would have been in excellent position to perhaps put the game out of reach, the Cowboys punted, certainly the lesser of two evils. The Cowboys would get one more chance to come from behind. All they needed was a field goal to win, not a touchdown. But the Redskins' defense was up to this final challenge. A second down pass to Dorsett in the flat was diagnosed perfectly by cornerback Vernon Dean, number 32. And the Cowboy chances were fading quickly. It all came down to 4th and 11 from the Dallas 28-yard line. 1 minute and 21 seconds remained in the game. The pass was incomplete, and the Cowboys were losers after impressively building a 21-6 lead. For the Redskins, nothing was sweeter than beating Dallas in Texas Stadium, and the victory marked the first time ever that Washington had swept the season series from the Cowboys. More importantly, it left the Redskins' playoff fate in their own hands. They ended the 15th week of the NFL season all alone on top of the NFC East with a 10-5 record. A victory over St. Louis this weekend in Washington, and the Redskins are division champions for the second year in a row.